Good morning. Welcome to our Easter Sunday morning service. We're going to begin this morning with Kelly playing a number on the piano. It is Easter Sunday, Resurrection Sunday, and very unusual circumstances, but we've been saying that for a few weeks, and looks like we might be saying it for a couple more. Thanks for joining us today. We're so glad to have you with us where you are, right where you're at, watching us and sharing together. This is what we're going to have to do at this point, and we're going to make it work. Doesn't take away the importance of today, certainly doesn't take away the significance of what this day means to us. I've been encouraged by a number of folks that have made the point, or I've seen the little things go across social media this week, that the churches are empty on Easter Sunday. But in one way, that's a good thing, because the grave was empty on Easter Sunday morning as well. And so we have something to look forward to, and that is that the fact that Jesus rose from the dead. So it doesn't matter what our state may be, where we're at today, sitting on the couch, sitting in front of the computer, watching on the phone, wherever you may be. Thanks for joining us. We have something to celebrate, and that is that the resurrection is still a very significant event to the Christian, and something that we're going to celebrate no matter what the circumstances may be around us. I want to look at some thoughts on the resurrection today. I'm going to start in John chapter 16. I'm going to read several verses in John chapter 16, starting in verse number 16, and look at the effects of the resurrection here and how it played out here in the book of John, the effect that it had on the people, what Jesus said about it. We have a number of important things here in this one passage I want to look at today. John chapter 16, starting on verse number 16. A little while ye shall not see me again. A little while ye shall see me, because I go to the Father. Then said some of his disciples among themselves, What is that he saith to us? A little while, and ye shall not see me. Again, a little while, ye shall see me, because I go to the Father. They said, therefore, What is this that he saith? A little while, we cannot tell what he saith. Now Jesus knew that they were desirous to ask him, and said unto them, Do ye inquire among yourselves of that I said, A little while, and ye shall not see me again, and a little while, and ye shall see me? Verily, verily, I say unto you, that ye shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice. Ye shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. A woman, when she is in travail, has sorrow, because her hour is come. But as soon as she is delivered of the child, she remembereth no more the anguish for joy that a man is born into the world. Ye now therefore have sorrow, but I will see you again. Your heart shall rejoice. Your joy no man taketh from you. And in that day ye shall ask me nothing. Verily, verily, I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you. Hitherto have ye asked nothing in my name. Ask, ye shall receive, that your joy may be full. These things have I spoken unto you in Proverbs. But the time cometh, when I shall no more speak unto you in Proverbs, but I shall show you plainly of the Father. And that day ye shall ask in my name, and I say not unto you that I will pray the Father for you, for the Father himself loveth you, because he hath loved me, and believed that I am come from the Father. I came forth from the Father, and am come into the world again. I leave the world and go to the Father. His disciples said unto him, Lo, now speakest thou plainly, and speakest no proverb. Now are we sure that thou knowest all things, and needest not that any man should ask thee. By this we believe that thou camest forth from God. Jesus answered them, Do you now believe? Behold, the hour cometh, yea, is now come. Ye shall be scattered, every man to his own, and shall leave me alone. And yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These things have I spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall see tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. John 16, verses 16 through 33. In this passage, something of a unique passage maybe on Easter Sunday morning, because this is before the crucifixion. Chronologically here in the book of John, Jesus is talking about his resurrection before the crucifixion. And as he's sharing with his disciples, we had looked at these passages last year in my preaching schedule as these final lessons of Jesus Christ, as he's leading them from the upper room up towards the Garden of Gethsemane, where he will be arrested and then taken to his crucifixion. And these are those final words that he's speaking to them. And he's given them some information here in John chapter 16, the last half of this chapter, and he's talking about the resurrection to come. And so we're going to look at those verses today, those passages today in regards to the resurrection of Jesus Christ. We see, first of all, what he's talking about in the resurrection, it's bringing some confusion. And it's bringing confusion really throughout all of his teaching. They don't understand. The disciples really don't understand what's going on. They don't understand what to expect. Here's Jesus Christ talking in what they find to be confusing terms, or proverbs, I think is the word they used in this particular passage as he's talking to them. They don't understand where he's going to, what he's talking about, what he means by this. A little while you won't see me, a little while you'll see me again, then I go to my Father. They don't understand all that. He talks about, remember the day that they came out of the temple. Him and his disciples walked out of the temple. And as they came out of the temple, he said about, tear it down, and in 3 days I'll build it back. And they're thinking about the building, and he's talking about himself. And again, the 3 days leading up from the crucifixion to the resurrection, and there's some confusion. They don't understand. They don't really understand what's in store here. They don't understand what's at stake here. They don't understand what the plan is, and they're confused by that. And so as we come to John chapter 16, Jesus is trying to prepare them. These are not just prophetic events, which they are, but these are prophetic events that are going to come to fruition within hours and days. We're standing on the precipice of this unfolding. He's about to be arrested. He's about to go through the trial. He's going to be hanging on the cross here within the 24-hour period, and he's going to be resurrected from the dead here in just a couple days. And so these things are about to come to pass as Jesus is teaching his disciples. And so the first thing we see in these first few verses that I read today is the confusion. They don't really know what's happening. They don't really understand. We know that after the crucifixion, when he's hanging on the cross, first of all, once he's arrested and into trial, most of the disciples have fled. Most of them have ran. We do see Peter hanging around but denying him. We do see John standing at the cross as Jesus talks about John looking after his mother. But for the most part, the disciples are gone. And then after the crucifixion, we're going to go fishing. They're going to go away. They're leaving. They don't know. Their whole world has come to an end. there at the cross, their master, their leader. They had left their professions to follow Jesus. And now that's over. That's done. He's on the cross. He's dead. He's gone. And the confusion has overwhelmed them. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to respond. They don't know where to turn. They don't know what their next step is. These are, again, Peter and John and them had been fishermen. And so sure enough, after all this, Peter's one said, let's go fishing. What are we going to do? They don't understand what's all at store, even though Jesus has explained it to them, told them, prophesied about it, warned them, and even gave them this instruction right at the very end before he's arrested. He's trying to explain to them what to look forward to, and that is the resurrection. So it brought some confusion. They didn't understand. They had seen Jesus raise some people from the dead, right? They had seen Jesus call Lazarus forth from the grave. But it always took Jesus, the person standing there, to initiate the action of the resurrection. Well, how's Jesus going to do that when he's the one dead? How's he going to do that when he's the one lifeless? How's that going to happen when he's the one in the tomb? They don't understand. Number 2, Jesus talks about, and starting in verse number 20, that the resurrection is going to bring great joy. So when all this comes to fruition, there's going to be extreme excitement, much excitement, just as there should be today in 2020, much excitement over the fact that Jesus Christ rose from the dead. There's going to be instantaneous joy among the disciples when they realized exactly what's happening. So in verse 20, he says, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, ye will weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice." Why? Well, they're glad he's gone, right? All those that were involved, that wanted him dead, those that were yelling, crucify him, they're glad he's gone. While you're weeping, while you're scared, while you're hiding, while you're lamenting, the world is excited. But, he says, your sorrow shall be turned into joy. And he compares it to a woman giving birth to a child. She goes through much pain and travail, all the labor that goes into bringing forth a child. But the joy, it's instantly turned to joy when that child is born, when that child's placed into her arms. How excited she is about that. And it says the resurrection, just like that. Boy, you're going to be overcome with sorrow, but your sorrow is going to be turned into joy, into excitement, into enthusiasm when you find out, wait, all those things he was telling us have come to pass. His power is over death as well. And he's alive. Number 3, the resurrection brings us access into God's presence. And he talks about that starting in verse 23. In that day ye shall ask me nothing. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you. Hitherto have ye asked nothing in my name. Ask, ye shall receive, that your joy may be full. The resurrection ushers us access into God's presence. And we see that physically unfold, one of those just very important events that happens when Jesus Christ is upon the cross, is that when he gives up the ghost and he yells, "It is finished," the veil in the temple is rent from the top to the bottom. And access is granted into the throne of God. Access is granted into the holy place where that had been a barrier because of sin. Once Jesus Christ paid the price for sin, that veil is opened. Access is granted. We know looking back, we know from the unfolding plan in Scripture that Jesus Christ, as he ascends back into heaven, sits on the right hand of the Father, ever making intercession for you and for me. What a blessing that is. That's one of the great advantages for you and I. Because of the resurrection, we have access directly to the throne of God. We can go to him in prayer. We can go to him and ask petition. That's why he said there, ask what you will, and he'll grant it to you. We have that access now because of the resurrection. Before that, the veil had been in the holy place. Before that, boy, only the high priest could go behind that curtain. And even then, very limited. And even then with restrictions. And even then with limitations. But once Jesus Christ paid the price for sin, rose from the dead, sits on the right hand of God, making intercession for you and me, we have access before the throne of God. Number 4, the resurrection clearly is going to reveal the Father. He says in verse 25, "These things have I spoken unto you in Proverbs." He says, I know you're confused. I know you don't understand. I've been speaking in Proverbs, but the time cometh when I shall no more speak unto you in Proverbs, and I shall plainly show you the Father. And so he's talking about the fact, that because of all this, because the plan of salvation and the unfolding plan of redemption has been fulfilled, Jesus Christ says, now is the time. Now is the time that I will be able to, upon your death and upon you coming and joining me, boy, you're going to be able to be ushered into the presence of the Father, literally, physically. This was not an immediate event here upon earth. This was looking forward, a prophetic event that, boy, you're going to be with me. When Jesus says in John 14, I'm coming again to receive you to myself. I'm coming to get you. Where I am, there you will be also. Where? In the presence of God. Why? Because of the finished plan of the gospel. Because of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now we can approach the Father in Jesus' name. We have access to the throne, and someday we're going to be in the presence of the Almighty God. Number 5, the resurrection validates that Jesus is the Messiah. Verse 28, Jesus says, I came forth from the Father and am coming to the world. Again, I leave the world and go back to the Father. All this just puts the exclamation point on the fact that Jesus Christ indeed was the one sent from God. He is the Messiah. Wasn't just a good man, not just a good prophet. There was something very special about him. He was sent from God, not only to teach us, not only to live the right life, to live the perfect life, to live the example, but also to overcome sin and death. Jesus Christ came and had the power over sin and death. That made him different than everybody else. He was divine. He was God. He was God in the flesh walking among us. And so because of that, because of the work that he did, because of the life that he lived, because of the price that he paid on Calvary, and ultimately because he overcame sin and death at the resurrection, we know that he is the one sent from God. Not just an example, not just a picture. The one, the Messiah, the promised one, the one that God has sent. Number 6, the resurrection exposes weak faith. Verse 29, his disciples said unto him, Lo, now speakest thou plainly, and speakest no more in Proverbs. Now are we sure that thou knowest all things, and needest not that any man should ask thee by this. By this we believe that thou camest forth from God. Jesus answered them, do you now believe? He knows they're going to scatter when the reality hits. They're going to run. He's going to have to go, after his resurrection, he's going to have to go find them. They're going to see him sitting on the seashore as they're out fishing. Peter said, let's go fishing. They don't know what else to do. Jesus goes and finds them he's on the seashore. He's making breakfast. They see him over there cooking up some fish and stuff. Jesus goes and pulls them once again. Their faith is weak. We see such a contrast in the disciples' lives between the Gospels and the book of Acts. In the Gospels, they're confused, they're looking, they're not sure, they're asking, they're searching. We come to the book of Acts, the Bible tells us they turned the world upside down. Things changed dramatically in their lives. Why? What happened? Well, Jesus Christ overcame sin and death. Jesus Christ was resurrected. The resurrection exposes weak faith. People hesitate with that. There'll be people today, alive in 2020, that'll say, I believe Jesus was a good man and a good teacher, and he lived, and he's a good person. He was maybe sent from God. Talk about the resurrection, and, well, I don't know. Maybe people took his body, or his disciples hid his body, or something happened, or they tried to keep the momentum going of the revolution of Jesus. No. Jesus Christ overcame sin and death. Jesus Christ foretold his resurrection. Jesus Christ was resurrected. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people saw him. He ministered, he talked, he spoke. He walked with the men on the road to Emmaus. He saw the disciples in the upper room. The Bible says some 500 people saw him, were eyewitnesses of him, and they saw him ascend back into the clouds, up into heaven. Jesus Christ was resurrected from the dead. But the resurrection ultimately brings peace. Verse 33, these things have I spoken unto you, that ye might have peace. And he says this, in the world, you'll have some tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Think how different things are this Easter than they were last Easter, or probably most Easters that we've had. This year, people homebound, a pandemic across our country. There's some fear and some unrest and some economic problems for sure. And things have changed dramatically just in the last few weeks. Things have changed dramatically since last Easter. The Lord said, in the world, you're going to have some tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. These things have I spoken that you might have peace. Isn't it good to know no matter what's going on in the world around us, no matter what's going on in the culture around us, no matter what's going on in the economy and in the health field and all those things, the resurrection's still true. We still have hope. We still have answers. We still have the answer of the gospel of Jesus Christ. We still have hope in eternity because of Jesus Christ. Listen, I just wanted to share some thoughts with you today on the importance of the resurrection. It started with some confusion among the disciples. It ended with a peace that the world does not understand because of what Christ did. Listen, if you are listening to this message today, wherever you may be, maybe you regularly attend Cedar Hill, maybe you don't. Listen, the gospel changes lives. It is the hope for mankind. It is the answer everyone should be looking for. We have a world today that is trying to fill the void in our lives with success, with money, with relationships, with opportunity, with adventure. Listen, the only thing that can fill the void in our lives is Jesus Christ. We have a sin nature that we are born with that only God can fill, that only God can cure, that only God can take care of. We must put our faith and trust in the finished work of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is the answer to our sin problem. Jesus Christ is the only answer we have for our eternity questions. Where are we going to go? What's after this life? Is there anything after this life? Jesus Christ is the answer to that. I hope and pray today, no matter where you are, you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. If we can answer any questions for you, if we can help you in any way, be sure to email us at the email address you'll see at the end of this video. Call the church office. Leave us a message. We'll be glad to talk to you. We'll be glad to help you. We'll be glad to show you what it means to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I hope you have a very happy Easter. I know you're not going to be able to do the things you were hoping to do with family, friends, and church, but I hope right where you are, we have the peace that passeth all understanding through only Jesus Christ.